Hi, Sustainable Food Guy here. I'd like to share some more information with you about why all of us should buy organic produce whenever possible. When we talk about food and its cost, we can't just consider the cost at the cash register because our modern industrial food system places enormous costs on the natural environment. Did you know that 1/3 of all man-made greenhouse gas emissions in the US are linked to food? That's roughly equivalent to the carbon footprint for automobiles in this country. So if you're concerned about climate change and you want to take measures to try to help, you can't just think about the car you drive. You also need to think about the food that you eat. Now, the food system produces greenhouse gases in many ways. Methane from livestock and food waste, packaging, distribution, water use, fuel for equipment, refrigeration, cold holding. But most of agriculture's carbon footprint comes from nitrous oxide, which is a byproduct of the petrochemicals used to grow our food. So when World War II ended in 1945, 40% of all Americans grew much of their own food. And almost all of the processed, convenience foods that we buy today, those didn't even exist back then. And organic food was just called food. But what happened after the war is that large chemical companies devised a way to artificially fertilize crops and create pesticides that help to increase yield. They made food much more easily available and much cheaper. And that was a wonderful thing. It was called the Green Revolution. But now, more than 80 years later, we're starting to understand and appreciate the negative aspects of this technology. So today, half of the US population is obese. In 1960, that percentage was 13%, so it's increased fourfold. We have all kinds of illnesses and diseases that didn't even exist 50 years ago. And cancer rates are rising. They've risen 30% in the last 20 years. They continue to increase, especially in young adults. Today's food system is making Americans sick. Now, organic food is only part of this puzzle, but here's one statistic to consider. Today in the US, 6% of all grocery sales are certified organic. That's double what it was just 15 years ago. And it continues to increase as more and more Americans become aware of the dangers lurking in our food. So it's good news for consumers, but it's bad news for the companies that rely on selling petrochemicals. So to try to protect their market share, they do a couple of things. One is they try to, they lobby Congress for fewer and looser regulations. And then the other thing they do is they spread misinformation. And here's an example. You may have heard this. There's no nutritional difference between an organic apple and a conventional apple, says Big Ag. Well, actually, studies indicate that in many cases, organic foods are nutritionally superior, but that's not the main reason that we want to buy organic. Here's another example of the misinformation out there. Big Ag says, well, if you take a conventional apple and you wash it or you peel it, you get rid of all of the pesticides, and it's the same as organic. This is not true. Yes, you can wash the produce, you can wash the chemicals and pesticides off the exterior, but petrochemicals permeate skins and peels. So even if you wash it, even if you peel it, and you eat the fruit, you're still getting those toxic chemicals in your body. Now, we're better off eating any produce, even if it's not organic, because produce is good for you. But buying and eating organic produce is definitely better for our health than buying non-organic. And what's the main reason for buying organic? It's to protect the environment. Pesticides like glyphosate and paraquat wreak havoc on ecosystems, and you've got the birds, bees, monarch butterflies, other pollinators, small animals, big animals are all endangered because of these pesticides that are being used. Now, you may not care about the environment and only care about what chemicals you're putting into your own body. Well, if that's the case, or if you're like me and most people and can't really afford to buy organic all of the time, check out the Environmental Working Group. They put out two lists, the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. These are lists of non-organic produce. The Dirty Dozen are the 12 items that you should most avoid if you can't afford to buy organic or can't get it. And the Clean 15 are the items that, if you're not buying organic, these are ones that you can buy that probably aren't going to, cause as much danger or risk to your health. This is a complicated topic. There's lots more to discuss. I encourage you to subscribe below, and we'll talk more about how we can protect the health of our bodies and the planet through the food choices that we make. I'm the Sustainable Food Guy.